There comes a moment in the life of a nation when silence is betrayal, when continued obedience is suicide, and when bowing to the same hands that choke you is no longer diplomacy, it is surrender. My name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré. I do not speak with the polish of career diplomats. I do not wear the cologne of multinational boardrooms. I was not trained in Washington nor groomed in Geneva. I speak from the battlefield where my people bleed and the soil remembers. I speak for a nation that has long been treated like a debtor's prison. And today I speak directly to the International Monetary Fund, not with trembling hands, but with a voice rooted in centuries of African pain and now African awakening. For too long, the IMF has posed as a benevolent doctor prescribing economic treatment to sick nations. But what we've learned, what we've suffered, is that your medicine often kills the patient. Your loans arrive with smiles, but they are poisoned arrows wrapped in contracts. You speak of stabilization, but you deliver strangulation. You speak of reform, but what you really mean is obedience to models built in foreign labs never meant for African soil. But we are not your laboratory. We are not your experiments. We are not pawns in your economic chess game. Burkina Faso and the whole of Africa is waking up. And when we wake, we do not ask for permission to breathe. You see, I come not to beg for cancellation. I come not to plead for relief. I come to tell you what no African leader has dared say loudly enough. We no longer accept economic policies that reduce our people to beggars. While our gold lines the vaults of the West, we no longer dance to the rhythm of conditionalities that gut our public services, cripple our farmers, and force our youth into exile. We no longer accept being told that good governance means handing over our national wealth to foreign firms with smiling consultants. So today we begin a new conversation, not one between debtor and lender, but one between equals, between nations, between truth and falsehood. And this is not a press release, this is a reckoning, and it begins now. One, the chains of debt, a modern form of slavery. Let us speak plainly without euphemism, without the polite lies of diplomacy. Debt, the kind you offer Africa, is not a tool of development. It is not a bridge to prosperity. It is a shekel. It is modern slavery, dressed in suits and spreadsheets. You call it structural adjustment. We call it structural punishment. You label it financial discipline. We experience it as generational despair. You offer it as partnership. But when one partner profits while the other bleeds, it is not partnership, it is plunder. Let me ask you, how can a nation rich in gold, uranium, cobalt, and fertile land be poor? How can a continent that fuels the industries of the world not afford to feed its own children? We are told it is mismanagement, corruption, incompetence. Yes, Africa has its wounds, but many of those wounds were inflicted by the very hands now offering us Band-Aids soaked in interest. Let me tell you what this debt looks like in real life, not on your PowerPoint slides, but on our streets. It looks like children studying by candlelight because the national power grid was privatized and sold to foreign investors who charge prices our people cannot pay. It looks like hospitals with broken beds, no antibiotics, and mothers dying in childbirth because your conditions demanded we slash public spending to qualify for your help. It looks like millions of African graduates with degrees in hand but no future, job-creating sectors were outsourced, sold off, or collapsed under your imposed liberalization policies. And worst of all, it looks like dignity broken. You see, the repayment plans you create are not economic formulas. They are death sentences. You lend us $500 million and ask for $2 billion in return over decades through interest restructuring fees, currency controls, and privatization clauses that rob us of our national assets. Tell me, what is the moral justification? You say the contracts were signed willingly, but let me ask, is it consent when the patient is bleeding and you are the only one holding medicine with a price tag and a clause? Is it choice when the gun is not pointed at your head but at the starving child behind you? No, Your Excellencies at the IMF, this is not consent. It is economic coercion. This is not development. It is domination. This is not globalization. It is neocolonialism in financial ropes. And we, the new generation of African leadership, are no longer blind. We are no longer grateful for crumbs from the tables our labor built. We are done applauding policies that hollow out our economies in the name of efficiency. We will no longer trade our sovereignty for loans that disappear into the hands of consultants, only to return as debt for our grandchildren. Let me be even more clear. Africa does not owe you, you owe Africa. You owe us for the gold taken on the colonial boots. You owe us for the minerals that power your smartphones while our villages remain in darkness. You owe us for the diamonds that dazzled your palaces while we bled in silence. And yet even in all this we are not asking for charity. We are asking for justice. True justice begins with the end of exploitative debt structures. Justice means allowing African nations to audit what we owe, where it came from, and who truly benefited. Justice means allowing us the dignity to chart our own financial futures, not as clients but as equals. And if this message feels uncomfortable, then good, because it is time the comfortable were confronted. To the puppet strings, how the IMF undermines African sovereignty. To speak of sovereignty in Africa today is to speak of a dream deferred, a continent of flags and anthems. Yes, but true freedom, that still hangs in question. They say we are independent, but independence without autonomy is illusion. And few institutions have done more to blur that line between self-rule and subjugation than the International Monetary Fund. You do not govern us, yet you draft our budgets. You do not vote in our elections, yet your approval determines whether our economies collapse or breathe. You claim neutrality, yet the ink of your influence runs deep in the laws we pass, the leaders we appoint, in the limits of our own ambition. This is not financial aid. This is political engineering. You arrive with briefcases and blueprints, not bombs, but the damage is often the same. Behind your technical language lies a silent weapon, conditionality. It begins politely: cut subsidies, liberalize your markets, devalue your currency. They say just recommendations, but what are recommendations when starvation is the price of refusal? What are suggestions when the next loan, the next breath depends on obedience? Let us not pretend. You have become the architects of our internal affairs. We were told structural adjustment would create efficiency. Instead, it created dependency. We were told austerity would eliminate corruption. Instead, it eliminated hope. We were told the free market would lift us. Instead, it lifted our wealth and flew it offshore. And when our people protest, when they rise in anger and hunger and the agony of unmet needs, you do not take responsibility. You step back claiming you are merely observers. But history is watching. Your hands are not clean. From Ghana to Zambia, from Senegal to Kenya, we have seen it play out the same. Leaders forced to privatize water only for foreign companies to raise prices beyond reach. Farmers undercut by cheap imports that kill local industries. Ministers told to cut spending on schools to balance the budget while foreign debt payments rise. And if we dare to resist, if we question your models or reject your prescriptions, we are blacklisted. Isolate, punished, our credit rating downgraded, our currencies attacked, our leaders vilified in international media as radical, unstable, or populist. But what is more radical than forcing a country to choose between feeding its people and repaying loans it never benefited from? What is more unstable than a society where youth have no future, no jobs, and no faith in politics? Because the nation answers to banks before it answers to its people. Let us be honest. Your influence has too often been a veto on our dreams. You have become unelected governors of African policy. And yet we are not merely victims, we are rising. A new wind is blowing across this continent. We are reclaiming the right to govern ourselves and our languages for our people by our values. We will no longer accept debt that demands we cut essential services before asking the rich to pay taxes. We will no longer tolerate consultants writing our national strategies while our professors go unpaid. We will no longer bow to institutions that answer to shareholders, not citizens. To the IMF, I say this with clarity and calm. We will be sovereign, even if it means rejecting your loans. Even if it means slower growth, but growth that is ours. Even if it means pain for now, but freedom in the long run. Africa does not need masters, it needs partners. And if you cannot walk with us as equals, then step aside, because we are moving forward, and this time the strings are being cut. 3, a system designed to fail us. We were born into a system we did not build. A global order forged in the fires of empire with the spoils carved into contracts, laws, and institutions that still govern us today. When the colonizers left, they did not leave behind fairness. They left behind frameworks built to extract, not empower. You see, the problem is not just the IMF for food. It is the entire architecture, the rules of trade, finance, credit, and global power that are designed to keep Africa in second place. Designed not by God, not by nature, but by men. Powerful men who decided what value means and who deserves it. Let me ask a simple question. Why is it that we, the continent with 60% of the world's arable land, still import food? Why do we who sit atop gold, diamonds, oil, and lithium need foreign aid? Because the game was never fair. We were made exporters of raw materials, not builders of industries. We were assigned roles in the global economy like actors in a tragic play. You grow and they process, you extract, they manufacture, you borrow, etc. They lend, and every time we try to rewrite the script, the penalties follow. Credit agencies slash our ratings. Multinational lobbies threaten sanctions. Tech giants pull out investments, and their media calls us unstable. But what is more unstable than a world where a continent of 1.4 billion people contributes the least to climate change, suffers the most? What is more irrational than a system where cocoa farmers in Cité d'Ivoire who feed the world's sweet tooth cannot afford chocolate? What is more unjust than countries who were once colonizers now lecturing us about governance, while sheltering the stolen wealth of African elites in their banks? And yet they call this order a meritocracy. They say work harder. They say be more transparent. They say attract investment, but what they don't say is this. Scoreboard was rigged from the beginning. The rules were never neutral, and the referees, the WTO, the World Bank, the IMF, serve the same teams who have always won. Let me give you an example. When we attempt to support local farmers with subsidies, we are told this distorts the market. Yet the US and Europe spend hundreds of billions on their own farmers every year and call it protection. When we try to build state industries to create jobs, we are told this is inefficient. Yet their richest corporations were born from state-funded innovation from NASA, from war, contracts, from public research. When we push back on exploitative mining contracts, they say we are hostile to business. But isn't it more hostile to extract $100 worth of resources and leave behind $3 worth of schools? Africa is not asking for pity. We are demanding fairness, not charity justice, not handouts equal footing. We are the youngest continent on Earth. And yet the global economy treats us like we have nothing to offer but our labor and our land. But our value is not in what lies beneath our soil. It is in our people, our quota, all minds. They said the system works. We say for whom? It is time we stop playing by rules written without us and start rewriting them in our image. We do not seek to burn bridges, but we will not walk across those that lead only to more chains. So hear this clearly. We are not broken. The system is, and if it will not change willingly, then we, the children of Sankara, Nkrumah, Lumumba, Mbiko was ended ourselves. Because we did not come this far just to survive. We came to thrive. And we will no longer wait for permission to do so. Or a new past sovereignty through self-reliance. Now that we have named the injustice, let us speak of rebirth. Africa does not need to beg for inclusion. Africa does not need another savior, another lecture, another conditional loan. What we need is a new path, one carved by our own hands, guided by our own vision and rooted in our own values. Self-reliance is not isolation. It is not arrogance. It is the reclamation of dignity, of choosing to stand on our own feet even when the ground beneath us trembles. Let me be clear. We are not rejecting partnership, but we are redefining its terms. For too long, partnership has meant dependence. It has meant waiting for approvals, for grants, for loans, while our people starve and our youth flee across the seas. This is not partnership, this is bondage with a friendly smile. So we must build differently. And it starts with 5 principles. 1, feed ourselves first. No nation is truly sovereign if it cannot feed its people. How can we speak of independence when a drought in another land dictates the price of bread in ours? We must invest in agriculture, not as a tool of survival, but as a pillar of power. From seed sovereignty to irrigation, from cooperative farming to agro-processing, Africa must rise from subsistence to abundance. Let every village become a fortress of food security. Let every farmer become a nation builder. To educate, to liberate. The most dangerous weapon colonialism left behind was not the gun. It was the syllabus, a curriculum that teaches us about foreign kings but not our own heroes, that praises foreign philosophers but ignores African science, innovation, and wisdom. We must rewrite education to raise children who know their worth, who build with purpose, who innovate with pride. Let us teach coding alongside crops. Let our schools be laboratories of freedom. We must educate not just to pass exams, but to shape destiny. Produce raw materials leave Africa. Finished products return 10 times the price. This is therefore in the mask of trade. We must process, manufacture, and innovate locally. It is not enough to own the mines. We must own the means to refine, package, and profit. We must support African businesses, protect our infant industries, and end the addiction to imports. This is how we create jobs. This is how we keep wealth in our borders. Let the world come to buy from Africa, not just to take. For unite or perish. A fragmented Africa is a weak Africa. We cannot negotiate with the world as 54 scattered voices. We must integrate economically, politically, and technologically. Let us build railroads that connect Lagos to Dakar, data centers that protect our knowledge, and defense alliances that protect our peace. ECOWS, SADC, AU, they must evolve from clubs of diplomacy to engines of collective action. No single African nation can stand alone, but together we are a giant. 5. Trust our people. Too often our leaders trust foreign advice over local wisdom. They fly thousands of miles to ask questions their own communities have already answered. But the solutions are here in the hands of our youth, our women, our elders. Let us fund local innovation. Let us amplify village voices. Let us believe that the mechanic in Ouagadougou and the coder in Kigali are just as brilliant as any consultant in Paris. We will not be free until our own people are trusted to lead the future. My brothers and sisters, we are not building a copy of the West. We are building Africa, our Africa. We are not chasing the old dreams of others. We are daring to dream anew. Self-reliance means we may stumble. It means we will make mistakes. But those mistakes will be ours, and in them we will learn to rise. There is no savior coming. The savior is already here in our hands. Our hearts are unity. Let us stop waiting. Let us stop blaming. Let us begin. Not tomorrow. Not after the next summit. Now, Africa will not rise through speeches alone. It will rise through soil-stained hands, ink-stained books, and steel-stained factories. Let us take back what was always ours. Not through war, but through will. Not through hate, but through healing. Not through begging, but through building. This is the dawn of self-reliance, and we will never go back to the chains. 5. The people's mandate. You are not powerless. To my beloved people, young and old, urban and rural, educated and unschooled, you are not powerless. You have been made to believe that power belongs only to men in suits behind microphones. That the future is dictated by those who sit in tall buildings far away. That decisions about your life are made in echo chambers with no windows to your suffering. But let me speak plainly. Real power does not start at the top. It starts at the bottom. It starts with you, the farmer who rises before dawn, the mother who feeds her children before herself, the young man who refuses to steal even when he is hungry, the girl who walks 5 miles for education every day, the street preacher, the mechanic, the nurse, the tailor, the teacher, the water carrier. You are the foundation. You are the pulse of Africa. But here is a tragedy. You have been taught to wait, to hope that change will come from someone else, to clap when crumbs are thrown at your feet, to fear questioning authority even when that authority fails to protect you. This mindset must end. We must tear down this invisible wall. The one that separates the leaders from the people, the informed from the unheard, the elites from the everyday heroes. Because true leadership does not rule, it serves, and service without accountability is tyranny in disguise. Why the system prefers you powerless. The international institutions we challenge today, the IMF, the World Bank, and others, they don't just seek to control governments. They rely on your silence. They thrive when you are too exhausted to resist, when you're too distracted by survival to organize, when you are taught that politics is dirty and not your concern. But understand this, every price hike, every failed hospital, every land grab, these are political decisions. And by not engaging, by not questioning, we become complicit in our own oppression. But once the people awaken, the tide shifts. Once the youth refuse to be silenced, once the mothers speak truth to power, once the elders remember the strength of their voice, no IMF loan, no dictator, no puppet regime can stand. From protest to participation, revolution is not always a fiery explosion. Sometimes it is quiet. It happens when a young person registers to vote, when a market woman refuses to pay a bribe, when neighbors gather to fix a broken road without waiting for the government. This is your mandate, not just to resist, but to rebuild. And to do this, we must reclaim 5 sacred rights. The right to question is ask why, ask how, demand clarity. Whether it's a village chief or a president, authority must answer to you. The right to organize, join hands, create unions, form cooperatives. Stand not as individuals, but as a united voice. The right to information, know who owns your land, know where your taxes go. Knowledge is power, and it is your right. The right to refuse injustice, refuse manipulation, refuse to be a pawn. Resistance is your sacred inheritance. The right to dream. Dream not just of escape, but of change. Envision the Africa your children deserve and begin building it today. This is not just a fight for governments. Yes, leadership matters. Yes, corruption must be purged. Yes, puppet regimes must fall. But a just Africa cannot rise on political will alone. It needs a people awaken, a people who refuse to settle, a people who will no longer be ruled by fear but led by conviction. You are not spectators, You are co-architects of the new Africa. Every action matters. Every voice counts. Every ripple becomes a wave. To the youth of Africa, you are not the leaders of tomorrow. You are the fire of today. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for funding. Do not wait until you're older or wiser or richer. Start now. Speak now. Organize now. Build now. Because if you don't shape your destiny, others will sell it. To the elders, we need your wisdom, not your silence. You've seen regimes rise and fall. You've endured hardship, betrayal, and hope. Now is the time to guide the young, not with cynicism, but with courage. To the mothers, you are the backbone of every revolution. It is in your arms that nations are raised. Do not let the world call you weak. You are the guardians of justice. To every African listening, this is not Ibrahim Traoré's fight alone. This is our shared mandate. To demand truth, to reject fear, to build a continent that finally honors the dignity of its people. Power is not something given. It is something realized, and today you must realize you are not powerless. Seek a reckoning, the fear is your awakening. My beloved sons and daughters of Africa, by now you must understand, we are not in a battle of guns. We are in a battle of narratives, control, and fear. The institutions that chain us, whether called the IMF, the World Bank, or the silent elite who never show, their faces are not afraid of our armies. They're afraid of our awakening. Because an awakened African is a dangerous thing. The game they played so well. For decades, they told the world that Africa was the problem, that we are corrupted, that we are incapable of governance, that we are dependent, primitive, and always needing help. They told us these lies so many times that we began to believe them ourselves. So we begged, we borrowed, we bowed. But in doing so, we forgot who we are. We forgot that Africa is the cradle of civilization. That it was here under our skis that the stars were first read, that it was our ancestors who taught the world about medicine, astronomy, farming, and spirituality. We forgot that before there was an IMF, there was Timbuktu. Before there was colonial aid, there were kingdoms with universities, armies, trade routes, and governance systems that spanned continents. We were not poor, we were made porous. What they fear most, let me tell you the truth, they will never publish in any global newspaper. Their power depends on your ignorance. Their comfort depends on your silence. Their wealth depends on your exploitation. So when you begin to read, they panic. When you organize, they tremble. When you unify across borders, they conspire. Why? Because a generation of Africans who know the game, who see beyond the aid packages and debt traps, who refuse to sell their futures for short-term illusions. Such a generation is unstoppable. They fear not your rage, but your clarity. They fear not your weapons, but your wisdom. They fear not your protest, but your purpose. The awakening has begun. Look around, you feel it in your bones. There is a stirring in our villages, a fire in our cities, a hunger in our youth that no IMF policy can extinguish. From Burkina Faso to Mali, from Niger to Uganda, from South Africa to Ethiopia, the veil is lifting. The spell is breaking. This is not just a political shift. It is spiritual. It is ancestral. It is prophetic. You are not just living through a revolution. You are the revolution, the reckoning on. For years they have extracted from us with impunity gold, oil, diamonds, cocoa, bauxite, uranium, and yet we remain the poorest continent in the world. No, this is not chance. It is by design. Well, here's what they didn't expect. That we would wake up, that our people would begin to connect the dots, that we would call out the lies, that we would dare to confront them not with hate but with truth. And truth is the most dangerous weapon of all. This reckoning is not about revenge. It is about justice. It is about restoration. It is about dignity. It is about telling the world, we are not your creditors, we are your creditors, and it's time to settle the account. The shift cannot be reversed. You see, once people see the bars of their cage, they no longer mistake it for freedom. Once people taste sovereignty, they no longer beg for scraps. And once people remember who they are, they become ungovernable by lies. So yes, expect pushback, expect propaganda, expect infiltration, expect threats, because when an empire begins to lose control, it will do anything to maintain the illusion. But their fear is not your signal to retreat. It is your confirmation you are doing something right. This is your time. Africa, this is your moment. Not next year and not after the next election. Now, you don't need permission, you need purpose. You don't need saviors, you need strategy. You don't need pity, you need power. the kind that is rooted in unity, history, and unwavering truth. Let every African leader know, if they do not serve the people will rise. Let every foreign investor know, if they come to exploit, they will be exposed. And let every African youth know, your time has come. You are the nightmare of those who built empires off our silence. You are the dream of your ancestors finally awake. You are the warning and the prophecy fulfilled. The chains are breaking, the masks are falling. The reckoning is here, and if fear is seen, it is your awakening. We have entered the age of African reckoning. To every young African listening to the sound of my voice, to every elder who kept the truth alive in whispered stories, to every mother who prays over empty plates with unshaken hope, to every child who walks barefoot through dusty roads, dreaming of something greater, hear me clearly now. The age of African reckoning has begun, not with violence, not with hatred, but with truth, with clarity, with resolve forged in the fire of centuries of injustice. We are not begging anymore. We are not negotiating for scraps from colonial tables. We are building our own table from African wood, carved by African hands, for African generations. From silence to thunder. For too long our cries were ignored. Our pain was politicized, our suffering monetized, our silence weaponized against us. But now we speak not with bitterness but with boldness, not to seek pity but to demand justice. They thought we were buried, but they forgot we are seeds. Let the world hear this. Africa is not waiting to be saved. Africa is rising to save itself. We are uniting across borders drawn by foreign hands. We are building systems that serve the people, not puppets. We are reclaiming our narratives, our currencies, our futures. Let the world hear this declaration echo through every institution built to contain us. We are awake and we are coming for everything that was stolen. To the youth, you are the architects. You, the youth of Africa. You are not lost, you are not too late, you are not forgotten. You are the architects of a continent reborn. You are not just the leaders of tomorrow. You are the liberators of today. Your weapon is your mind. Your shield is your history. Your compass is your conscience. And your mission on to reclaim, rebuild, and restore the African soul. A new covenant with the people. From this day forward, let no leader speak in the name of Africa if he bows to foreign masters. Let no contract be signed that sells the future for a foreign loan. Let no flag wave in celebration if the people beneath it are starving. We declare a new covenant between the land and the people, between the past and the future, between the seen and the unseen. We will honor our ancestors by refusing to repeat their captivity. We will bless our descendants by ensuring they are born into dignity, not debt. This is our sacred duty. This moment, this reckoning is not about me. It is not about a single government, a single speech, or a single protest. It is about a spiritual awakening, an ancestral uprising, a generational fire that cannot be extinguished by fear or foreign hands. So let it be written in the hearts of all Africans. We will rise not as victims, but as visionaries. We will forgive, but we will never forget. We will extend our hands in peace, but we will not bow in submission. Africa, remember who you are. You are the drumbeat of the earth. You are the sun before time. You are the womb of humanity. You are the whisper of the ancestors. You are the Lord of tomorrow. Africa, remember who you are. Let the lions awaken. Let the river sing. Let the soil rejoice. For we are no longer lost, and we are no longer divided. We are no longer asleep. And so I declare, as a son of the soil, as a servant of the people, as a voice among millions, I declare before God and history, Africa shall rise. Africa shall heal. Africa shall reign not in conquest, but in conscience. Not in revenge, but in restoration. Not by force, but by the unstoppable power of a people who have remembered their name. May the ancestors watch with pride. May the children walk with hope. And may the world bear witness to the rebirth of a continent. So help us God.